Hello, and welcome to the Argyle Finance Solutions Summit. My name is Nick with Argyle, and it's great to have everyone joining us today. A couple of notes before I turn things over to our esteemed speakers. First, a quick reminder to stop by our sponsors' virtual booths at any time during today's event and for the following week. Our partners are committed to providing you with valuable content and a great overall experience. At any time during today's event, you can visit their virtual booths from the main agenda page, which include complimentary materials, information, and meet and greet opportunities. To ask questions throughout the session, simply type into the Q&A chat and we will address your questions at the end of the session. Now, without further delay, I would like to introduce our speakers. Diego Garcia, Senior Solutions Consultant at Blackline, and Catherine Beecraft, Senior Manager, Solution Strategy and Marketing, Blackline. We are excited to have Catherine and Diego with us for a marketplace thought leadership and demo titled Navigating Change, How Finance and Accounting Can Enable Resilience and Agility. Welcome, Catherine and Diego. Over to you.
Hi, thank you so much, Nick. Thank you for having us and welcome everyone. As Nick mentioned, our session today is titled Navigating Change, How Finance and Accounting Can Enable Resilience and Agility. Diego, you can go to the next slide. Great, thank you. So my name is Catherine Beecraft and I'm Senior Manager of Solution Strategy and Marketing at Blackline. And my role is primarily focused on helping customers understand the value of Blackline. I'm a CPA, and prior to my time with Blackline, I spent nearly a decade working at PwC and also at a global retailer in corporate accounting and leading financial reporting and technical accounting. I'm super excited to be here today. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleague Diego to introduce himself.
Thank you, Catherine, Nick, and everyone joining us today. My name is Diego Garcia. I'm a Senior Solutions Consultant at Blackline for the last 4 years. Before coming to Blackline, I had a past life where I did accounting without Blackline and then accounting with Blackline. So I'm able to tell you about the benefits, functionalities, and features of the solution. Today, I'm going to be driving a quick product demonstration to show you some value in terms of automation, control, and visibility that Blackline can provide. Catherine.
Great, thank you, Diego. And we can go over the agenda for today. So first, obviously, we just did the introductions. Next, we'll talk about F&A observations and trends. We'll then talk about the cost of manual accounting. And then we'll get into the benefits of how to address some of those manual accounting processes with an F&A first approach and how the Blackline solution can help. Along with that, Diego will also be doing a demo, as he mentioned, and at the end, we'll wrap up with Q&A. So, as I'm sure many of you have experienced, your role in finance and accounting is very dynamic. There are many disruptions in today's business environment, but a few that we've been hearing about from many of you are evolving business models, challenging labor market, and expanding F&A roles. So, touching on the evolving business models, businesses are constantly evolving to address macroeconomic conditions, which can create complexity for F&A teams. If you think about some of the changes that you may have experienced, maybe you have new company codes that you have to close the books for, or you have new or different segments that you're reporting on, or entering into new territories that have different statutory reporting requirements. It all adds to the work that F&A teams need to manage. Not to mention changes in accounting standards or other regulatory requirements, just in general place increased demands on finance and accounting functions. And with regard to the labor market, there's not only a skill shortage within finance and accounting, but top talent is really really wanting to make sure that they're doing meaningful work. Not that, routine, manual, repetitive work, but really something that's value add and interesting to them. And labor costs are increasing, so it's difficult to, add new headcount whenever there's an increase in, what your team needs to be doing or some other type of disruption that you're facing. And last but not least is the expanding F&A role. So business leaders, as I'm sure many of you know, rely on their F&A teams for meaningful insights that's really based in data. right? Accounting professionals are really no longer seen as bean counters. That term is seemingly very outdated. But accountants are really strategic business partners who can help inform and influence business decisions and strategy. And so all of these disruptions really kind of hinder accounting and finance teams' ability to help their organizations be resilient and agile in such a dynamic business environment. And Diego, you can go to the next slide, thanks. So in addition to kind of adapting to all of the change and the disruptions that we just went through, accounting teams are doing a lot of their work very manually. And according to an IDG Market Pulse research study, it says that 94% of accounting and IT teams agree that time spent on accounting, compliance, and the financial close gets in the way of other strategic work. So in other words, all of the things that you need to do to just close the books, report internally, report externally, do your controls, all of those things really get in the way of being able to support all of those disruptions and other strategic business initiatives that we just went over. And in addition, according to Accenture, 99% of CFOs agree that it's important to have real-time processes and operations in place to better inform business decisions. And so what this is really saying is that, there's a need for automation and processes that can address things in real time rather than weeks later when you're closing the books, to be able to make sure that you're making business decisions based on up-to-date and accurate information. And if you think about all of that, really the value that F&A teams bring to their organizations is largely dependent on what they spend their time doing. So if your team is spending their time, or you are spending your time doing a lot of, again, routine manual work, it's really not bringing a lot of value to your organization in the way that you should or really want to be providing value, right? You can go to the next slide, Diego. If you think about what F&A expertise is needed from the organization, it's really to align capacity to the align to the corporate strategy, to optimize business processes while also doing the really important work of managing risk and compliance. And you have a finite amount of capacity, or in other words, time. And as you're trying to kind of adjust and address each one of these different things, something has to give, right? So you have to find a way to become more efficient and bring automation or other solutions into your organization so that you can be that resilient and agile organization and professional that your organization needs you to be. So if you think about, along with the disruption and also some of that manual work, and this is kind of getting into a double click into the last bullet point that I was talking about in terms of expanding finance and accounting's role. But these are all of the things that finance and accounting leadership are prioritizing, or maybe not all of the things, but many of the things that finance and accounting leadership is prioritizing. And it's a long list, right? There are things like new accounting pronouncements, recruiting and retaining top talent. We kind of talked about both of those, but then there are also other things like figuring out remote work enablement or adjusting that, right? A lot of organizations went full-time remote and now they're going back to hybrid models. So just having to constantly figure out, what is the best way for my team to get their work done. There are other things that are a little bit more technical in nature, like managing working capital and liquidity, or supporting M&A transactions, or potentially for some organizations, making sure that they're ready for an IPO. And then in addition, there's other challenges with intercompany accounting and making that more efficient, or just general process efficiency, right? So there's all different types of things that finance and accounting are focused on that are really in addition to just the general closing of the books. And this list, as we've mentioned, is growing. And as we face continued disruption in the market, just will only continue to grow. And I love this slide because this is just a visual representation of kind of summarizing everything that we just talked about, right? Like you have people, processes, technology, communication, And that's all kind of holding this thing called the financial close together. And in your organization, you might have your close checklist, and you might have processes, and you might have, your all of your processes mapped out and visualized. But when you think about like how that close actually gets done, it's kind of just a mess of people talking to other people through email, through chat, through phone calls, stopping by their desk, right? You have files saved on your desktop, you have files saved in your email, you have them saved on share drives, right? Like you're going and doing work in one ERP and then switching to another, or you're doing things out in, you might be doing things in a third-party system and then having to export it to a spreadsheet and then reconcile your spreadsheets manually, right? So all of these things, it's just kind of chaotic. And add to that the pressure of doing that on a deadline, right? The close, many organizations can't start until a certain point, and it needs to end by a certain point. So doing all of these things kind of under pressure really just opens up your organization to a lot of risk. And it also kind of goes back to some of the challenges that we were talking about, which is people are stressed out about it and it's not fulfilling work for them. They're not able to focus on that value add work that they really want to be doing, like managing by exception or doing analytics and analysis and providing value add in data and insights to their organization and to their leadership. So the costs of manual accounting, they're rising, and I think they're somewhat obvious, but just to kind of go through them, when you have manual accounting processes, you're wasting a lot of time. We have this kind of analysis at Blackline and this thing called the red dots. And if you think about like a process in your close where you might need to do a reconciliation and then you pass it off for review. And just in that time that it takes for you to complete your reconciliation and then email somebody the file and say, hey, this reconciliation is due, for them to then stop with, or this reconciliation is ready for review, for them to then stop what they're doing, open the file, review it, ask a few questions. So email you back, and then you stop what you're doing, you review those questions, you respond to the email, you email somebody back. Think about all the wasted time in that process between somebody getting interrupted in what they're doing, getting distracted, focusing on what they're doing, responding to that email, and then refocusing, right? It can add up to, those 5-10 minutes in each one of those steps adds up to a lot of wasted time. And in addition to the wasted time, there's excess costs that comes along with that. Obviously, the less efficient people are, the more time that takes them. But also just with manual processes in and of themselves, sometimes in order to solve that, you just need to throw more bodies at the problem when there's high volumes of data. Like if you're managing a lot of credit card reconciliations, or if you have point of sale data, or you're just managing things at a transaction level, there's an excess cost to having people be able to handle that. There's unnecessary risk in all of that manual process as well. Obviously, things are subject to human error, fat finger, but also there's risk in people not necessarily doing things consistently across the globe. You might have processes that you think are very clear and simple and easy to follow in one region that maybe not everybody fully understands. So there's just unnecessary risk in a lot of different ways. There can even be risk in terms of how long it takes people to manage these processes, right? There's risk in your reporting timeline. There's also employee turnover, as we've kind of touched on. People are not really satisfied in their job when they're doing routine manual work, or when they're frustrated with the work that they're doing. And I think a lot of the newer entrants to the workforce, they have really high technology expectations to the way things are being done, right? They're used to growing up in a digital world, and it's kind of shocking for them to come into an environment where things aren't done that way at work, and they're having to, manually do things that they know a computer or some type of technology or automation can address. So They're very frustrated with that, and it leads to employee turnover, which again goes back to excess cost, right? Turnover is costly. And then, last but not least, it really limits your organization's agility. So when you're doing things manually, you don't necessarily have the ability to have real-time data and insights, and you're not able to always make strategic decisions based on the best, most accurate information available. So let's say, in the traditional way of closing the books, you wait till the end of the month to be able to match some of your transactions, right? And let's say there was a whole batch of information that didn't make it from one system to another. And you don't realize that until the end of the month because you just don't do that process until, you're in the close, right? But let's say you use some of that data from the system that didn't get the batch to make a decision because you thought that it was most likely complete, right? So that's opening you up to risk, but it's also giving you you're making decisions based on bad data, and you're just less agile as an organization. If you're able to address those things real time and handle them and do a reconciliation, let's say on a daily basis, then you are much more agile as an organization. So that's just kind of an example. But the cost of traditional manual accounting, they're high. And I think that, a lot of times as accounting and finance professionals are like, oh, well, this is the way it's always been done and it works. But in reality, that might be true, but the costs of doing that are high. And also, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, in this time of disruption and with all of this growing list of priorities, the time that you're able to focus on closing the books is, it's limited, and there's a cost of that. So we really challenge people to think about, what can I do? How can I do things differently? So Diego, you can go to the next slide. Thanks. So the path forward, how do I do things differently, right? And that's really transformation. So over 85% of CEOs have accelerated digital initiatives over the last 3 years. And I think that kind of speaks for itself. A lot of organizations are realizing that digital transformation is what's going to get their organization from where they are now into where they need to go. And the way that things have always been done, or the way that things got done today, is not going to be the way that they're going to succeed in the future. And 95% of controllership on their transformation journey assert that they have more work to do or are not progressing quickly enough. So what this is saying is that a lot of finance and accounting organizations, I think, especially during the pandemic, realized that they needed to start some type of transformation, and they needed to enable, some type of system or technology to help them do their work. But they're really realizing that there's a lot of value in that, and there's still a lot of manual processes that can be addressed. And 40% of CFOs say now is a good time to be taking greater risks. And I think what that means is that accounting and finance professionals are inherently really risk adverse, right? Because there's a huge cost of compliance, or a huge cost of non-compliance, I should say. And so it's really not a place that, has traditionally been risky. It's just generally risk adverse. So I think what CFOs are saying is now is a good time to kind of break away from some of those traditional kind of ways of thinking, and to be taking risks and figuring out, how can we do things better? How can we do things differently? And that's not to say that you're opening up yourself to, errors or, control issues or anything like that. You can still focus on digital transformation and doing that with control. But it's really talking about taking risks in terms of figuring out a better way to do things. So this quote from Forbes is great. It says, if you're leading a finance function, this may be the moment to ask yourself whether your team is no longer resigned to working the way they always have. And I think that's great, because it just kind of makes you think twice about the way that you've been doing things. Organizations, just typically tend to let finance and accounting take the back seat, not prioritize their transformation, because things have always just been working and they've been fine. And it kind of sometimes, it used to take something like a control deficiency or an error or some type of issue to really kind of push teams to want to change. But I think, what Forbes is saying is that finance finance professionals really should start thinking about, how can I make an impact to my organization? And I think one thing that I've heard that is really interesting is that it's finance and accounting leaders have a once in a generation lifetime or once in a generation opportunity to provide value to their organization in a very unique way. So if you think about it like that, I think it's very exciting that, we're in this kind of inflection point where we can really make a big impact on our organization and the way our finance and accounting teams are working with digital transformation. So when you think about digital transformation, there's really the traditional 3 pillars that you hear about. There's people, processes, and technology. And so we're able to, when you think about transformation, you really need to think about all 3 of those together. You can go to, great. And so when you think about like when leadership's thinking about, okay, well, what do I want to achieve with some type of digital transformation? The first thing is efficiency, and that's really quick time to value and a cost optimized finance and accounting function. So we want to find some type of solution that doesn't take forever to stand up, right? We don't want a implementation that takes a year or 2 years. We want something where we're going to be able to stand it up quickly and start getting value immediately. And also that goes along with a cost optimized finance and accounting function, which really means we want to be able to run these solutions efficiently and not necessarily have to add bodies or other resources to solve some of these challenges. Another objective is effectiveness, right? So to be able to deliver that timely and accurate data and be able to report timely and accurately as well, so that you can redeploy your capacity to meet your business partnerships expectations. Experience, again, we've touched on this a lot. One of the biggest leadership objectives that we hear about is being able to provide a platform for world-class finance and accounting work and to be able to recruit, and not just recruit, but retain that top talent. And then last but not least, and tying back to our broader theme, is enterprise agility, right? Making sure that your technology investments align to your operating model or your business model and can enable continuous predictive data-driven insights. And so really, what does that mean and how do you get there, right? Of course, a lot of organizations are thinking about, well, we want to be able to forecast and do all this different complex modeling and scenario planning, right? But what's the foundation for being able to do that predictive analysis and be that agile organization? And we'll talk about that on the next slide. So as you can see, kind of the advanced enterprise, this is a great slide. It's a sunrise slide and it's a build, but we'll start with the top just because it ties to that last leadership objective. And that's being an agile organization really means that you have these advanced enterprise capabilities. And so the foundation of that is a standardized and unified financial data model. So what this is really saying is that you start with a data model. So you think about your data model as like your finance and accounting master data. How do I need to report? Like, what do my profit centers need to be? What do my cost centers need to be? How do I need, like, what data do I need in the system to be able to report out revenues by segments or profitability or analyze pricing or all of those different internal and external reporting metrics that you might need? What's that data model that I need to support that? And from there, then you build on your actual results, right? So you need optimized and efficient actual results based off of that data model to then be able to inform continuous planning and predictive insights. So often organizations think that they want to be agile and they want to be able to do that scenario planning and all that modeling. And they start there with the top and they work their way backwards. And then they realize that, well, we're doing all of this modeling and planning based off of bad data because we didn't go and look at how we're going to make sure that we're getting optimized and efficient actual results. So leading a transformation with finance and accounting really helps you set that foundation that's needed for an agile organization. And Blackline is able to help you with that, Blackline is able to help you with enabling those actual results. And so Blackline's financial operations management platform really enables finance and accounting professionals to focus on what matters most to your organization. So within our platform, there are three main pillars that we have. The first is financial close management, which helps you actually close faster with complete and accurate results. And that's the solution that Diego will kind of demonstrate to you. The second is accounts receivable automation. And then the third is intercompany financial management. So thinking about kind of your end-to-end intercompany process. And in many organizations, it's a little bit of a reactive process, but with the Blackline solution, you're able to enable kind of proactive governance to help manage your intercompany upfront and prevent the out of balances, prevent the delays in reporting. So if you're interested, again, Diego will walk through the demo of some of the financial close management solutions, but also if you're interested in learning more about accounts receivable automation solutions or intercompany financial management solutions, please certainly pop a question in the chat or feel free to reach out to us after our presentation. And so with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Diego to walk you through a demo of our solution.
Thank you very much, Catherine. For that, I'm going to start with a couple of slides and then we jump into the instance. So what you're looking at here is this is the Blackline instance. But before we see the Blackline instance, let's see the big picture of the Blackline solutions and how Blackline can help by providing benefits and functionalities. So as Catherine said, Blackline offers three big areas of solutions. Today, we're going to focus on financial close management. Having said that, Blackline can help you to close your books faster and to bring more automation and visibility at all levels through this bundle of solutions that we call the financial close management solutions. So let's take a look of what does that offer. When you are facing all these challenges, Blackline can provide you solutions with all these solutions. If you want to automate the recs or you want to substantiate your in a standardized and have better controls over your recs, we recommend you utilizing the Blackline account reconciliation solution. You want to have a better and more automated, connected workflows with closing your month-end close. Well, task management might be the solution for you. You want to bring automation to your journal entries where you don't have to move a finger, where Blackline takes care of bringing the data from the data sources, automating that journal entry and posting that journal entry to your ERP, Blackline. Or just like the variance analysis solution, it's a solution where Blackline proactively, based on a threshold, proactively triggers a notification. For example, if you don't want your bank account to go, or you want to know when your bank account goes over $1 million, okay, let's set up a threshold so that Blackline, when that occurs, Blackline sends an email to your analyst so that he or she is notified real time of that variance on the bank account, on your P&L, on your balance sheet accounts. So that person gets automatically notified when it happens, instead of having to be reactive about it and having to wait until we close the books to finally realize if we had a variance or not. So with all these suite of solutions, we would like to present you some of the instance that we have here. For this quick conversation of today, we decided to start here under the eyes of the CFO. But Blackline, with just one license, Blackline can offer you multiple functions, multiple roles. You can have the role of the preparer, approver, reviewer, accounting manager, director, internal auditor, external auditor, you name it, controller. The point is, with one solution, with one license, you can have multiple roles. The one thing Blackline guarantees is the segregation of duties. So you wouldn't be able to prepare and approve the same record. Blackline won't allow you, but you can approve other people's records, for example. Right now, we are in the accounting period of May 31, 2022, and we have visibility of my month-end close tasks. And what is my variance certification status? What is the status of my recs by legal entity, for example? what in my balance, what has been reconciled, what has been not reconciled yet. I can see the aging of my accounts from 0 to 10, 30 to 60, over 300. And all these headers and columns are configurable. You can play and how you want to, what you want to see. As you can see, it's very easy to build these dashboards that provide you with real-time visibility of your month-end close. Like, for example, if I click on any of them, I can go from the big picture to the detail. Blackline, for example, if I was the CFO, Blackline says that you have key accounts and non-key accounts. And out of your key accounts, 45 of them have not been prepared yet. So from this big picture, I can drill down and Blackline can show me the detail. For example, these are the 45 accounts. This is the account description. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. This is the name of the preparer, name of the approver. This is the legal entity. So if you have multiple legal entities, you're going to see them all from decentralized solution. Blackline is going to bring automatically the GL balance. Blackline is going to bring automatically the subledger balance or the bank balance or the legacy system balance. And Blackline is going to compare them. You're going to have the accounting reference here. Is this cash? Is this fixed assets? Is it taxes, accounts payable, accounts receivable? Well, when Blackline compares your balances, then Blackline is also able to filter on it and is going to tell you, hey, everything in 0 is certified, is reconciled, but everything with a number, it has a difference ready to be fixed. So if I was the CFO, I can see here that if I fix these 2 accounts, or if I was the accounting manager, if I resolve these differences, my numbers will significantly get better. And I can go even further in detail. Like I can go to the face of the rec to see that difference and have that substantiation from there. Like this is the face of the reconciliation. Here we are at the National Savings Account from London. There's the account number. You can have multiple currencies here. Right now, Blackline is showing me great British pounds, but I could say, hey, Blackline, show me even 3 currencies at the same time. Well, Blackline is going to show you the balance in all those 3 currencies at the same time for you to compare. Also, you can tell Blackline, hey, Blackline, bring a prior period, for example. So you can do comparisons on that account based on, hey, did it increase, decrease? You can analyze that. This bank balance came automatically. Blackline brought it automatically at the frequency that I told Blackline to bring it. Blackline also, same happened with the GL balance. It came from the ERP at the frequency that I indicate Blackline to bring it. So Blackline can bring all these balances on a daily basis, every number of hours, every number of minutes, real time, every week, every month. It's configurable. The idea is that Blackline take care of that, bringing the data instead of us, the accountants, having to go to that to download the report or having to go to the website to download statements. So we're trying to offer value of automation so that the accountant can use his or her time in activities in more strategic activities of bigger value, like data analytics, reporting, or just activities or bigger value in general. Blackline allows you to put some comments in the face of the rec so that you have a centralized repository of comments, or attach supporting documentation. And it will be as easy as clicking here and choosing what is the file that I want to bring here. Okay, I decided to bring a PDF. In a matter of 2 seconds, Blackline shows me the PDF. It says, there's a PDF, that's the name, that's the person who submitted the document this day at this time. So you have that audit trail. And if I click on it, Blackline is going to show me the PDF, the attachment, for example. Okay. If we continue with the Blackline solutions, all these Blackline solutions, I'm going to switch to the role of the preparer. So I'm going to go from the CFO to the preparer so we can see Blackline from the eyes of the preparer. Right now we are in May 2022, but let's switch the accounting period to June. With this, I'm also showing you that Blackline will store all your accounting data forever in the cloud. So you will have access. You will have access to it 24/7. unless you decide not to have it, but Blackline is going to have your data here for you to access it 24/7. So we are Kim Wilson, the preparer, June 2022. She can have a big picture of what is that she needs to do she needs to complete this month. 91 reconciliations in total. 72 of them are non-key accounts, but 19 of them are key accounts. If I go to the left, Blackline is going to show me all those Blackline solutions that Kim Wilson has access to. For example, I can click in accounts, and Blackline is going to show me all the recs that Kim Wilson is responsible for this month, 86 of them. And this grid, this reconciliations grid, gives me the big picture. For example, I have all my entities here. So if I only wanted to see my accounts for Sydney, I don't have accounts for Sydney, so I just want to see my accounts for Atlanta. Perfect. Those are my accounts for Atlanta. Or Blackline, show me all the accounts 1009, regardless of the legal entity. Those are my petty cash accounts. Perfect. All this technology can be used to automate reconciliations in multiple use cases. Some popular use cases for using this technology are like what I'm showing here: accruals, accounts payable, accounts receivable, bank to GL, cash application, commissions, credit cards, high volume accounts, intercompanies, inventory, payroll, P cards, PO, point of sale, T&E accounts, you name it. All these are popular use cases of this automatic reconciliation technology. If I was to show you a bank account, for example, like a bank reconciliation, I can go here and Blackline tells me, welcome, this is the reconciliation for Bank of America bank account. Here is the bank balance, came automatically. Here's the GL balance, came automatically. And this is the unidentified difference between both of them. It's a big difference that represents 500% of that account. So when I come in the morning, ask Kim Wilson, the preparer, then Blackline says, good morning, Kim Wilson. While you were sleeping, Blackline automatically matched 47,000 transactions. And Blackline gives you the detail of what it automatically reconciled based on the auto certification rules. So in this, for example, every match has an ID. So if I click here, Blackline is going to show me, hey, Blackline is going to say, there was an automatic match this day at this time, gave it this ID. And this pass rule is based on date, check number, and amount. It's a one transaction to many transactions match. And here's the detail. From the bank, one check came in. From the GL, 3 transactions were there. So Blackline did a match of one transaction from the bank to many transactions on the GL. Blackline can do one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many matches. Also, Blackline can do two-way matches, like data coming from 2 data sources, but also can do 3-way matches, data coming from 3 different data sources and match it automatically in real time. Blackline can do matches of 1 million transactions per minute. That is why it's a very big, important technology, like very big in volume. So not a surprise that out of the Fortune 50 companies, more than half of them, like 60% of them, use Blackline to do automatic matches and to automate their month-end close. The way Blackline can do these automatic matches, well, Blackline offers 12 auto certification, 12 auto certification rules. So all these rules can be applied to your accounts with 0 or no activity, to your subledger matches, to your bank reconciliations, to your intercompanies, accounts with 0 balance, you name it. You can have a threshold. You can set up a threshold, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't tie to the penny. You can have a threshold based on amount. All these are popular use cases. So these 12 auto certification rules come in automatically. But Blackline can also give you the technology for you to create your very own and unique rules that only apply in your company. And those are these rules. Here are 11 pass rules. These are 11 pass rules that I was able to create in Blackline to be able to match automatically this Bank of America account. So you can create your very own pass rules, and these are very broad in technology. This one, for example, if I go inside, I can talk to you about the mapping of it. So the mapping says, I basically told Blackline, hey, Blackline, you're going to receive a file from the bank with the column past date, match it against the file from the GL with the column date. So I match those two, and I'm also telling Blackline, hey, Blackline, it doesn't matter if the transactions are not with the same date. You can have a threshold. You can wait, for example, if one transaction arrives on Monday, please wait until Saturday. Wait 6 days to do the match. If day 7 comes, then consider that transaction an open item. So and you can do those, you can set up those thresholds based on amount, based on percentage, based on dates, multiple. So the idea is that Blackline automatically matches everything or the majority, but your accountants will be left out with these unmatched transactions. So you don't need to go and investigate what is an open item. Blackline is already telling you which are the open items, and from here you can take actions. So for example, I could say, hey, these 5,000, they go together with these 5,000. I'm going to match them. I'm going to give it a reason for the match. Or you could say, actually, I see many small fees here, so I'm going to transform all those small fees into a journal entry. So I put them all together here. Here's the list. And I'm going to tell Blackline. Blackline says, do you want to create a journal entry per each line, or do you want to create a summary item? So I'm going to say a summary item, 515, all of them together. And Blackline says, how do you want to classify it? Is this an adjustment, this component, time and issue? I'm going to say this is an adjustment, journal entry adjustment. I can put notes if I want to. I can put a description, or I can assign all these lines to somebody to take care of it. For example, I'm going to assign them to my colleague, Pamela. Hey, Pamela, number 1, could you help me with this? Number 2, could you help me with this? Number 3. So you can assign action plans from here or create journal entries as well. The last thing I would like to mention in this brief, quick product demonstration is that you're going to have all your Blackline solutions here. And then one of the most valuable features of it is the Blackline reporting module. Blackline offers you over 70 reports from day 1. These are the reports that the biggest company in the world, 60% out of the Fortune 50, use this, like the controllers and their managers use these reports to manage their month-end close. But also, Blackline offers you the ability to create your very own reports if you want to. For example, if I want to say, hey, I'm going to create a report that shows me all my open items as of now. Okay, Blackline says these are your open items based on legal entity. So I can see answers, I can have visibility, and you can play with the grid, you can play with the visualization, you can play with the fields that you look in the report. Or I could say, hey, Blackline, show me how are we doing with our month-end close by legal entity. Okay, Blackline generates the report and says, hey, corporate has the majority of the work, so maybe other legal entities can help. So you have visibility real time of where you are at in the month-end close, even by people, by legal entity, by business unit, by country, you name it. Or you can even schedule those reports. You can tell Blackline, hey, Blackline, generate this report and send it to my inbox every Friday at 9 a.m. Or send it to somebody's inbox from Monday to Friday at certain time. Blackline can take care of that for you. And you can download the reports in PDF, in Excel, in CSV, highly configurable. So aiming to be respectful and mindful of your time, this has been a very quick product demonstration. So we basically talked about account reconciliations and transaction matching and reporting. But in general, Blackline is going to bring benefits like visibility in real time into your close process, efficiency and automation of repetitive tasks, and Blackline is going to help you ensure accuracy and the data integrity of the data that flows into the financial statements. Blackline brings control as well. Is there any question?
I don't think we're going to have any time for any questions,
Mhm.
but the audience members, you can still ask questions, and maybe Diego and Catherine can answer them later.
Yes.
But I want to thank you, Diego and Catherine, for such an incredible thought leadership and demo. I want to also thank everyone else for joining us today. This session, along with all of today's content, will be available on demand following the event. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.